Hey there! Ready for a deep dive into the world of board games?
Always ready for that.
Awesome. Well, today we're going to be looking at, well, a few different things.
Okay.
We've got some articles about how the German board game market is doing,
hmm
and then we've got a couple of Kickstarters that we're going to look at
Oh,
that are seeking funding,
cool.
and then kind of a little bit of drama unfolding with another Kickstarter and the publisher of that.
Sounds interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. It
hmm
is. So let's just jump right in and start talking about Germany.
Okay.
Germany's kind of like the board game
Yeah.
mecca, I guess you could say.
It's big. Yeah.
It's really big, and even with their economy having like a little bit of a
Yeah.
structural crisis, as one of the articles calls it,
Right.
board game sales seem to be pretty resilient,
Interesting.
which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah. So the overall toy market in Germany is down, but board games are seeing like a small increase. So that is very interesting.
Yeah, just 0.9%, but
You
still.
know, compared to toys being down
Yeah.
5%,
Yeah.
that's pretty significant.
Huge. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And they really point to the huge popularity of trading cards
Huh.
and these collectible card games.
Yeah, like Pokemon, like
Yeah.
Magic,
Yeah.
those big
Getting
ones.
all those things, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just a fad.
Right.
That's driving a lot of growth there.
Yeah.
And it's also the adult game scene is really booming too.
Okay.
Especially party games and like
Oh, it just
trivia style games are really doing well.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But here's something I thought was I don't know, I found this kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That even with the convenience of online shopping, people are still going to
Right.
brick and mortar stores
Right.
to buy their board games.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people really value that experience of going to a store, seeing the games firsthand, maybe even like trying a demo
Yeah, yeah.
before they buy. I think there's
Yeah.
something like tangible about that. A sense of community too.
Totally.
You know,
Yeah, and going to like your
friendly local game store.
yeah, your
Mhm.
local game store and chatting with the staff and
Yeah.
getting recommendations from other
Yeah.
players and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which you can't really replicate online.
You can't.
No.
Not really.
But it's also with all this, we're also seeing the rise of crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter
Yes.
and how that has really
It's huge.
impacted the board game industry and really allowed, I think, some smaller independent creators
Mhm.
to get their unique ideas
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, without having to go through,
Yeah.
a big publisher,
Yeah, yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And
Yeah.
the fact that more people are playing board games. Yeah.
Weekly than ever before.
Yeah.
It's like it's just fueling this whole
It's great creative fire, right?
Yeah. In Germany, it jumped from 8% to 13%.
Wow.
In just a decade, the number of people playing weekly.
Wow.
And for families, it's even higher. It's 24%.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
So more players means more demand for new and interesting games.
Yeah, exactly.
And Kickstarter provides that avenue
Yeah.
to be able
Gotcha.
to create those things.
Yeah. So that's all really, really positive and kind of points to like exciting times
Mhm.
for board games. But there is another side to this.
Yeah.
And that brings us to this
To this cautionary tale.
this cautionary tale, yeah.
Yeah, which highlights that while crowdfunding is a powerful tool,
Yeah.
it requires a lot of responsibility and planning
Totally.
on the part of,
Yeah.
both the creators and the people backing the project.
Okay, so this publisher in question is Mythic Games. And it seems they've run into some choppy waters,
They have.
especially when it comes to fulfilling
Yeah.
their Kickstarter promises.
It really underscores the importance of understanding the potential risks
Right.
that are involved with crowdfunding.
Okay, so before we get into the specifics of what's happening
Yeah.
with Mythic Games, I think it would be kind of fun to first just take a look at some
Yeah.
of the awesome Kickstarter projects that are out there that are seeking
Yeah, let's do that.
funding.
Okay.
What do you got?
We've got two that caught my eye.
Okay.
One is called Estate, Raise the Realm,
Okay.
and it's described as a worker placement game.
Oh, okay.
Now, for those
Yeah.
familiar with that term,
Yeah, good point. Because not everyone speaks.
not everyone speaks fluent board game jargon.
Right.
Um, but worker placement is a popular mechanic where you strategically assign your workers
Mm-hmm.
to different actions on the game board.
Okay.
So it's kind of like allocating your resources to different tasks
Right.
in order to build up your,
It's a state.
yes, your estate.
Perfect.
And in Estate, Raise the Realm, you're playing as medieval fantasy nobles who
Oh,
are trying to rebuild their family estates
cool.
after some unfortunate events.
Awesome.
And you're competing for resources, constructing buildings, vying for influence.
Yeah.
And it incorporates the concept of engine building as well.
Okay.
So you're kind of gradually developing your estate's capabilities to generate more resources, more actions.
So it's like a well-oiled machine where every
Yeah, like a well-oiled
part is working together to like make your
That's great.
state more
Yeah, more powerful.
powerful. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, I think so.
What about the other one?
Okay, this one's called Fate of the Kingdom,
Okay.
and it sounds like a completely different experience.
Okay.
So imagine a grand kingdom, right?
Hmm.
On the verge of collapse.
Ooh, okay.
Players take on roles
Okay.
within this crumbling kingdom, each with their own unique abilities
Okay.
and goals.
So is it cooperative? Like, are they working together to try and save the...
That's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
It's not strictly cooperative.
Okay.
So players still have their own individual goals
Oof.
that they're trying to achieve.
Oh, okay.
So there's definitely like an element of competition.
So it's like everyone's trying to like grab a piece of the pie before...
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Because the whole thing goes belly up.
You know, strategically gathering characters, scoring points, and ultimately trying to build up their own power base
Right.
amidst all the chaos.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Lots of tension and tough choices, it sounds like.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So, these are just two examples of like really cool and diverse
Yeah, totally different.
types of games that, Kickstarter makes possible.
Mm-hmm.
But, as we alluded to earlier, there's
a flip side.
a flip side to Kickstarter.
Not all projects sail smoothly to fulfillment. Sometimes things get
Complicated.
complicated. Yeah.
And that's where our cautionary tale
That's right.
comes in.
Yeah, Mythic Games.
Yes.
Known for their really ambitious, visually stunning board games,
Right.
have found themselves in a bit of a situation.
Okay, so let's unpack this Mythic Games situation, because I think it's important for anyone
Yes.
who's interested in crowdfunding, either as a backer or a creator, to really understand what can happen.
What can go wrong?
Yeah, what can go wrong, and to learn from these situations.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. They really made a name for themselves with these like elaborate, high-quality games.
Yeah.
Often based on popular video games or like, IPs.
Right.
But it seems like that ambition maybe got the better of them.
So what exactly happened? Did they like completely go bankrupt?
Well, there was some initial confusion about that.
Okay.
It's actually specifically their French subsidiary that's being liquidated, not the entire company.
Gotcha.
And this subsidiary was mainly used for paying their French employees.
Okay.
But they let go of all their permanent staff like almost 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So it's been like inactive.
Okay. So they're still operating, but just through freelancers and their parent company in Luxembourg.
That's right. But even so, they're facing a pretty serious financial crunch. Apparently, they've been waiting on payments from creditors.
Okay.
Which is, put them in a tight spot.
And on top of that, they've got multiple Kickstart projects that are still in development, some of which raise millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a perfect storm brewing, ambitious projects, rising costs, and then this.
And then the financial strain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did they do? Like, how did they try to...
Well, this is where things get a little controversial
to
try and make up for these financial shortfalls.
Yeah.
Mythic Games started asking backers of their Kickstarter campaigns
Whoa.
for additional funds to help deliver the projects.
Wait, so they asked people who had already pledged money...
Yes.
to pay even more money to get the game they were promised.
Yes, and as you can imagine, this did not go over well with a lot of backers.
I can imagine that's like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Especially if you pledged like a significant amount.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a couple specific examples that really illustrate this.
Okay.
So one is their Kickstarter for Darkest Dungeon.
Okay.
Which raised over $5.6 million.
Wow.
Initially, backers were told they'd need to chip in an extra like $18 to $69 to get the first wave of the game.
Okay.
Which included the core set, an expansion, and various add-ons.
And that's on top of what? Like $100?
Yeah, so they had already pledged anywhere from like $100 to $330.
Wow, so that's a lot.
To ask, yeah.
And then it gets even more complicated.
Oh, no.
Because later on, Mythic Games kind of went back on their word. Uh-oh.
And asked these same backers for even more money
Wow.
to get the second wave of Darkest Dungeon, which included more expansions
Oh, geez.
and localized versions in different languages.
Oh, wow.
So some backers ended up paying over $380 in extra costs,
That's almost double.
almost double their initial pledge.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's got to be so frustrating.
it is. And a similar situation happened with their Kickstarter for Six, Siege,
Okay.
which is a board game based on the popular video game Rainbow Six
Right.
Siege.
Right.
They basically gave backers an ultimatum:
Uh-oh.
pay up to an extra $249,
Wow.
or you don't get the game.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's really tough.
It's putting backers in a really tough spot.
Yeah, it is.
Like you're held hostage by your own enthusiasm for the project.
It is. And to make matters worse, there's been a lack of communication
Yeah.
and a lot of uncertainty surrounding the delivery of these projects.
Right.
Like, for example, Mythic Games hasn't posted an official update on the Darkest Dungeon Kickstarter page in almost 8 months.
So these backers are just like left wondering.
He's left in limbo.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening with my money? Am I ever going to get this game?
Right. And it's understandable why people are
Yeah, they're upset.
upset about it. Yeah.
And in the midst of all this, Leonidas Vesperini, Mythic Games co-founder,
Okay.
did respond to a thread on BoardGameGeek
Okay.
where he addressed some of these criticisms.
What did he say?
Well, he apologized to backers who felt misled and lost money.
Okay.
He denied allegations of embezzlement,
Mm-hmm.
but admitted that the company had made mistakes
Okay.
in handling its finances. And he also mentioned being harassed and receiving threats,
This is never okay.
which is never okay no matter the situation.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
It's just a messy situation all around.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the importance of transparency.
Transparency is key.
Yeah.
You know, creators need to be upfront with backers
Yeah.
about the challenges they're facing, the potential risks involved.
Totally.
And when things go wrong, you know,
Oh.
communicate openly
Yeah.
and honestly with your backers. Keep them informed.
Yeah. And build that trust.
Build that trust.
Yeah.
Maintain that good relationship.
Right. Because they're essentially investing in your
Exactly.
project, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit.
Oh,
We've
go.
talked about Germany. We've talked about Kickstarter.
Mm.
What other interesting
How
tidbits
about the little nuggets
and nuggets of information did we find?
did we find in our research?
Yeah.
Well, one thing that stood out to me was this new game called Lorcana.
Lorcana.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's a brand new trading card game,
Okay.
or TCG,
Okay.
that was just released this year by Ravensburger.
Ravensburger. I thought they just did like puzzles and
I know.
family games and stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting move for them, right?
Yeah. So what is this Lorcana?
Get this. The theme is Disney characters.
Disney. Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about like tapping into a huge
Huge.
market.
Yeah.
It's got to be a hit.
And it seems to be working.
Really?
Lorcana's flying off the shelves,
Wow.
and it's already become like a major competitor
Yeah.
to established TCGs
Okay.
like Magic, The Gathering.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So what do you think is driving that? Is it just the Disney? Like,
I mean, Disney definitely plays a huge role.
yeah.
You know, they have this incredible ability to connect with people
Right.
of all ages,
Yeah.
across generations.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the nostalgia, it's the emotional connection
Yeah.
that draws people in.
Totally. I mean, even as adults, there's something about those Disney characters that just like brings you back to your childhood.
Warm, fuzzy feelings.
Yeah.
But it's not just like casual players who are drawn to Lorcana.
Oh.
It's also
okay.
attracting serious collectors and competitive players.
So they've kind of like got something for.
It seems that way.
And
Yeah, the artwork is beautiful, the gameplay is engaging,
Mhm.
and of course, you know,
the Disney factor.
the Disney theme is a major draw.
Yeah.
So it's a winning combination.
Really shaking things up
It is. It is.
in the TCG
In the TCG landscape,
landscape. Yeah.
it's amazing how a well-established company like Ravensburger
Yeah.
can just like successfully break into a new market.
Yeah. Totally.
It shows you how powerful a strong brand and a smart strategy
Yeah.
can be.
It's a great lesson
It is.
in strategic diversification.
Absolutely.
And speaking of new beginnings and strategic partnerships,
Oh, yes.
we have one more story that we
Right, more story.
need to touch on
Yes.
before we wrap things up.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this one's about a new publishing studio called Uncommons Publishing.
Oh, okay. UP
or
Games.
UP Games for short, yeah.
Yeah,
And they just secured a major distribution deal with Asmodee USA.
that's huge.
That's huge.
Asmodee is a major player.
Yeah, they distribute some of the...
Yeah, they distribute some of the biggest titles out there.
Yeah, yeah. So this suggests that Yuki Games has got something
Yeah, they've got something special.
special going on.
Yeah, and when you look at the founders, it's no surprise.
Okay.
These are some heavy hitters in the industry.
Okay.
The designers behind games like Gnome Hollow
Mm-hmm.
and Monkey Palace, which was Lego's first board game
Whoa.
in over a decade.
Okay.
So, they've got the experience,
Yeah.
they've got the talent,
They've got the
track record,
track record.
Yeah.
So combine that with Asmodee's
distribution network.
distribution network.
Yeah,
They're set up for success.
they are.
Okay, so what's their debut title?
It's called Floristry,
Floristry.
and it sounds really unique.
Okay.
It's a 2-player tile laying game
Okay.
that uses an app
Okay.
to run timed Dutch auctions.
Tile laying game and an app. I've never heard of
I
that
know.
combination.
It's an interesting mix.
Yeah, so what's the goal? What are you...
From what I've gathered, players are trying to create the most beautiful floral arrangements.
So it's like strategic thinking.
Yeah, it's strategic.
Though with aesthetics.
Aesthetics, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can already see those, like colorful tiles and
I know.
beautiful flower
It's supposed
designs.
to be very visually appealing.
Yeah, and then with Asmodee's help, it's going to reach a much
To reach a wide audience?
wider audience. Yeah.
Definitely.
It's a great partnership, it seems like.
It's a great example of how collaboration and
Yeah.
strategic alliances can benefit everyone.
Right. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah, UP Games gets access to a much larger market, and Asmodee gets an exciting new title
Yep.
to add to their portfolio.
So it's clear that the board game industry is just this,
It's dynamic.
ever-revolving.
ever-evolving
Yeah.
space.
We see incredible innovation,
Mhm.
exciting new trends, and of course, inherent challenges
Mhm.
that come with any business.
Yeah, totally.
But it's fascinating to see how crowdfunding
Right.
continues to shape this industry,
Yeah.
offering both incredible opportunities,
Mhm.
but also, potential risks as well.
Okay, so before we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I think we should circle back
Yeah.
to this crowdfunding topic
Yes, let's offer some
and offer some final thoughts.
final thoughts for our listener.
Yeah. It feels like we've only just, dipped our toes into everything.
Flat surface.
Scratched the surface of
Yeah.
everything that's happening in the board game world. But
Mhm.
before we get lost in a rabbit hole
Yeah.
of dice rolls and meeples,
Right.
let's bring it back to crowdfunding.
Okay.
It's kind of been a recurring theme throughout.
It's a big one.
Yeah, big one
Yeah.
throughout our deep dive.
Definitely.
Great.
Yeah, from the exciting potential we discussed to the challenges that Mythic Games is facing. I mean, it's undeniably a major force in the industry.
And it's not just about funding projects. It's about fostering that direct connection
Right.
between creators and their audience.
Absolutely. Building a community around these games.
Yeah.
Even before they,
Yeah.
hit the shelves.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And like you said, it allows creators to bypass traditional gatekeepers
Yeah.
and have more control over their...
Yeah. More controlled, direct connection
Yeah.
to the fans.
But as we saw with Mythic Games,
Yeah.
that freedom also comes with responsibilities.
It does.
All right.
It does. So what are some of those key responsibilities that you think?
Well, crowdfunding really relies on trust.
Okay.
Creators need to be transparent with their backers
Okay.
about their plans, their budgets,
Mm-hmm.
any challenges that they encounter along the way.
Right. And backers need to be informed.
And backers need to be informed.
Yeah. Do your research.
Right.
Understand the risks.
Totally.
Be prepared for delays.
Be prepared for potential delays, changes.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's a partnership between the creators
Right.
and the backers,
Yeah.
built on mutual respect
Yeah.
and understanding.
And when that trust is breaking,
yeah.
like what we saw with Mythic Games,
Yeah.
it
Unfortunately,
can really hurt.
and it hurts.
Yeah, the community.
Yeah. Yeah. It can have lasting effects.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder about the long-term
Mm.
sustainability of crowdfunding as a primary.
Right. Is it too easy for creators to overpromise and underdeliver?
Yeah.
Are backers becoming, more cautious
Mm.
and skeptical?
Right. So for our listener out there
Yeah.
who might be thinking about backing
Mm-hmm.
a Kickstarter campaign,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
what advice?
What advice would you give them?
Yeah, what advice would you give them? What are some red flags
Oh, that's a good question.
First and foremost, do your research.
Okay.
Look at the creator's track record.
Mm-hmm.
Have they successfully delivered on previous projects?
Right.
Read the campaign page carefully.
Okay.
Pay attention to the timeline, the budget breakdown,
Yeah.
the risk assessment.
And I think also like looking in the comments section
Oh, yeah.
and seeing what,
Let's see what other backers are saying.
yeah, are people raising concern?
Are there any red flags being raised? Yeah.
Yeah.
Engage with the community. Ask your own questions.
Right.
And don't be afraid to, back out
Yeah.
if something feels off.
Yeah.
Or the creator isn't being transparent enough.
Right.
It's your hard-earned money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have the right to be discerning.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
This has been a really
It has a
Yeah.
lot going on
deep dive, a lot going on.
in the board game industry.
Yeah, we've seen incredible innovation,
Mm-hmm.
exciting new trends, and then of course these challenges that are just inherent.
Yeah, they're going to happen in any business.
And it's clear that the board game industry is kind of at a
At a crossroads.
crossroads right now.
Yeah, navigating growth, innovation, the evolving landscape of funding and distribution.
Totally.
But, what's really encouraging is that
Yeah.
the passion for board games
Yeah.
is still so strong.
It is.
People crave these shared experiences.
Yeah.
The laughter, the competition around a table.
Absolutely. And whether you're a seasoned strategist or you're just kind of dipping your toes
Yeah, explore.
into this world,
Yeah.
there's really something special
There is.
about the connection and the joy that board games bring.
So
Yeah.
to our listener out there, we encourage you to
Yeah.
embrace that joy.
Yes.
Explore
Yes.
the incredible variety of games that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even consider
Yeah.
supporting a Kickstarter campaign that
Mhm.
sparks your interest.
Yeah.
Just remember,
Do your research.
do your research
Yeah.
and back responsibly.
Wise words, wise words.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me
Yeah, this was fun.
on this fascinating deep dive.
It's a good one.
It was a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Into the world of board games.
Absolutely.
Until next time, happy gaming.
Happy gaming.